Hello and welcome to our video series which sees me, Creative Head Editor Amanda Nottage, chatting to leading Wella creatives from across the UK industry. I'm going to be delving into their career histories, their inspirations, their thought processes, their working spaces, anything could and should pop up. Now joining me today is the Wella UK colour trend expert and most wanted creative talent winner of 2018, Miss Zoë Irwin. Hello Zoë, thank you for joining me in my library.
I love your library. It's pretty major, isn't it?
I've got to start by asking you, you really exude a passion when it comes to hair. I love that. What got that started? Can you think of a time back in your youth where just something just ignited that passion?
I wasn't ever on the path to be a hairdresser. I was on my way to university, and the first passion I think definitely came from taking a summer job in my best friend's salon, my best friend's mother's salon. And I actually only took the job because I wanted to have some highlights, and they said that if I worked for a week I could have my first set of highlights, which was a massive thing because I was like, you know, 15, 16. And I spent a week there and I was blown away, you know, by the warmth. It was at a time when people would have regular appointments. They would come in every week to have their hair styled, and the music, and I changed everything I was going to do. And then, you know, it just went from there. And there was a salon in my town where all of the cool girls were, and I just wanted to be cool. I just wanted to be in the salon.
Which town was this?
It was, it's by Tunbridge Wells. It's called Crowborough. And there was one particular salon that was just so different at the time, and I just wanted to be cool. You know, I wanted to be a cool girl, and all the cool girls were there, and they played the best music, and it was a scene, and I wanted to be in the scene.
And do you remember the feeling you got from your very first unaided colour result? Taking off the foils or rinsing the colour off, blow drying that hair and just seeing what you'd created. Did it make your heart flutter?
Yeah, it did. I was terribly nervous. Obviously, I was really, really nervous with my first colour. But I think it was seeing what the colour did to the cut, which obviously I've been learning first, because you first learn how to do a haircut and then you added colour. And I think it was seeing the vibrancy and the texture, and, you know, all of these kind of magical things happened in the colour cupboard. And so, you know, it was pretty amazing. And I was an 80s kid, and that's the best time for me, you know, to be. I started hairdressing in 1984 when the references and, you know, the hair that we were doing was just out there in a massive way. I grew up with Top of the Pops, and you know, colour was mental. Huge. At that time I just wanted to be Toya Wilcox, and Toya Wilcox had very, you know, orange red hair that was crimped, and I think in that period colour was so dominant, and guys had colour, like a lot of colour. And so I think the day as a colourist then was really, really fun.
So thinking about colour in 2019, I mean, I think it's a pretty exciting time at the moment for colour in terms of innovation, trends.
Yeah,
how do you feel about the year ahead in terms of colour?
I feel incredible, because I think the difference is definitely from kind of 5-10 years ago, is our palette has extended. I mean, by such degrees. You know, if you look at how we were talking about colour even 8 years ago, we might still talk about certain tones like a brown or a copper, and now, you know, pale green and pale blue, and I mean, it really is, the palette's thrown wide open. And I believe what were our classics, which would perhaps be a creamy highlight and perhaps be a bronze brown, has now paved the way for also a soft grey, and a certain pink would be a classic palette. So as a colourist, we've extended what we talk about.
So where do you go to get creative? Where do you need to go in your mind?
Yeah.
To kickstart those creative juices, to get them flowing. Think about the space you need, the time you need, the references. How does that whole process, the Zoe process, trademarked, get kicked off?
Well, I'm a trend forecaster, and it, you know, that really is my world, and it has been for the last 7 years. And so this for me is as important as a day, you know, working in the salon, or a day working educating. And so it's a huge part of my year. So I go back to Barcelona every 3 months.
Okay.
I go back to certain places like Australia, certain places in Italy, very, very frequently, because I have to monitor the trends in the area, and the way to see that is to keep, you know, going back to the same places. And so I arrive in the city, I'll arrive in Barcelona. I know all of the skate parks, like I know where that scene is, because I'm more dominant kind of in youth trends. That's what my specialist is. And so I will spend a lot of time in one area just photographing. I take the last train from a town called Sitges into Barcelona to capture the kids that are all around. So I'll do that about 11:30 at night and start monitoring what they're wearing, because they're the ones that are going into the clubs. So it's a layered kind of survey. And then I'll also always go to the exhibitions.
A big part of what you do now is to mentor you know, young talent coming into the industry. It's fantastic. Who would you say has been your greatest mentor, and in what way?
I would like to say Guido, because I was very, very lucky to be part of Guido's team, and just watching him work and his ideas and concepts and his fashion references was just incredible. But equally, it would also be everyone that was in that team at the time, because there were so many incredible hairdressers that were working, you know, together on the shows and on the shoots, that it was the whole experience.
So thinking about a team,
Yeah.
if you were working on big project and you could have anybody, your dream team, who would you assemble?
I'm going to start with Anton Alexander, because he's been with me for the last 5 years. And so he would definitely be there, because he's been there for so many hair decisions. Tyler Johnston, because, I mean, gosh, he just blows me away with his talent. Nicola Clark, amazing colour, and just so many laughs, which is just really important. Oh my God, there's just too many.
2 more. I'm going to ask you for 2 more.
Oh, 2 more. Esther Langham, a session stylist who's now in New York. I just think she's just the most incredible hairdresser. And Lindell Mansfield.
Oh, fantastic choice. Why Lindell? What did she bring to the team?
Because I first started to see really beautiful colour application when I worked alongside Lindell at McQueen in the toilets backstage.
Oh, just dropping that in there.
No, I mean, as in it was a smelly environment, but within that environment, I looked over and just looked at her tint application and was just crushing over her. So Lindell for her vibrancy.
Brilliant.
And also, wouldn't that be fun?
I was just going to say, that sounds like a really fun team.
It's such a fun team, yeah.
You've got a beautifully curated Instagram feed.
Thank you.
I heart it. But to the modern hairdresser, social media, BFF or mortal foe. I mean, it can go either way.
Both.
How do you find a happy balance?
One of the things we talk about the most within the trend world is authenticity. And I do think it's something that you can really see, that if somebody is just following something they think will make them more followers and it isn't authentic to what their being is, then it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I don't have 50,000 followers as perhaps I should have, but I look at my feed like a mood board, and it's a happy place for me to be. And it's more important for me to have people look at that page and feel that when they meet me or when I teach them or when I write for them, that's what you kind of are, as opposed to driving and trying to get millions more. But then, you know, I was talking about this a lot in the last few weeks when looking at colour trends, because I believe that Instagram has been the most incredible tool for colourists, because you can look into people's thought processes. I see, you can view the way they're going, you know, and be that most of the people that I follow are actually makeup artists, and it's insane to watch their minds play out and then see the next season, you know, that coming out. You know, it might be that they're posting perhaps a shell or a brick wall or something with sort of some kind of colour detail, but as a colourist that really inspires me the most. And so for that, Instagram has just blown us all away, I believe.
How can we as hairdressers, as an industry, do better for our clients? What is it that we should be doing to prove that it's worth their time and their money to come regularly to the salon and see salon professionals?
I believe that what would really encourage more salon visits is the idea that things are really bespoke to each client in a way that I feel that might have been a little bit lost in the, you know, in the area of consultation. I really spend a lot of time looking at face shape and really looking at skin colour. Perhaps that might take me longer, but also making sure that I'm not just following a picture from Instagram that has been brought into me, that it feels that it's truly like a personal experience. And I think more attention on that would really bring people in. Also just always moving towards the next colour. You know, perhaps it's autumn, perhaps it's summer. Like, there's a lot to be said for being excited about your next visit.
Right, yeah.
And I look a lot at the beauty world because I think it's a really interesting place to view. And I know as somebody that would be having perhaps facials or something like that, you're always on a path. And I believe we should do more in that area with our clients.
What skill would you say has served you best that isn't hair related?
I studied fashion journalism and developing creativity, which was a course designed for artists. And well, actually, I did 7 courses within 1 year. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And I believe that, I mean, none of them were in any way in the industry, and I believe that has helped my career more than anything.
Okay.
Yeah, just to put that with my knowledge of hair and obviously other courses in hair, but I think that's changed me.
And if you could think of one moment across your career that you would say was the most exhilarating, can you pinpoint it?
Can I have a few moments?
Oh,
how do you have one moment?
Okay.
There's so many moments.
I'm going to give you 3.
3
no
moments.
more than 3.
Okay. There was a McQueen show which was in Paris, and they had wolves, real wolves.
Okay.
And honestly, like, even think about it, I've got goosebumps now. And just that feeling of like the drama and the intensity and the darkness and the heart pounding. When I think about it, I still have the same kind of physical emotion, and that was, I'd never seen anything like that before. And I think, you know, I'd done London Fashion Week, but seeing the intensity of those shows and the build-up was just insane.
Well, that's a pretty good start.
I mean,
Number 1, McQueen, fabulous.
the first time I was in Elle magazine. Actually, scrap that. Any time I'm in Elle magazine. I grew up with Elle. I read it from the first edition, and being in Elle to this day, it makes my whole month, it makes my whole year. So that, yeah, the high point of my whole career was winning Most Wanted Hair Icon. I mean,
that was a night.
Still to this day, I just believe as a hairdresser, like I still can't believe it happened, and I mean that was insane. And you know, I was in company of people that I really loved, and just the whole table. I think all the chairs flipped back, and that was crazy. And also, it's the first thing that I ever talk about. You know, what's the best moment in your career? What was the biggest thing for you? And I mean, for all of us, that is one of the biggest things. You know, it's the biggest thing we can have, really. So, it's the dream. It's the dream.
You are in a position now, top of your game. You are. Come on.
That's really sweet. Thank you.
You are adored by so many in the industry. They look up to you. They look at what you do for inspiration. I'm going to ask you now.
I feel like I'm going to cry.
Oh, please don't.
I
I don't want to make somebody else cry.
Sorry.
No, what I was going to ask was, I want to bring you back down to earth and make you human again. And so everybody can feel better about themselves, that this glowing genius in front of me has made mistakes. Can you think of the time?
Yes.
You've made the biggest mistake. What was it? And how did you recover? I can't wait to hear this one.
I made someone's hair fall out.
Brilliant. Great start. Okay. How the hell did you get over that one?
What happened was I put some colour in. We were doing cap highlights, and then
The cap.
and so I told my assistant, because at the time we all had our own assistants, and I said, can you take the cut, it was called a true zone, could you take it off? And she thought I said, can you turn it up? Which is very far apart. So far apart that when we rinsed the colour off, the whole of her hair came out into the basin, and it was the most, I think that was just the most, I can see it now, I can feel it now. It was just insane, the shock and the horror of that. And how to, cutting her hair afterwards, which was the most mortifying experience. Every time I put my comb in, highlights came out with it. And I think from that day, it scared me and frightened me, and that personal responsibility to another human was magnified, that I really went the other way, kind of, technically, and that kind of fearless that we can do anything, we can take you. It was the 80s, and yes, you're got black hair, but you could be white. It's just all that was happening, and that's when I started to really do a lot more education. A lot more education. I thought I still.
How did you react? How did you deal with it in that moment? Crew cut?
I just fell apart, and obviously you can always see that emotion, and we ended up giving her lots and lots of treatment. She had very short hair. I did this other thing as well, like just around the same time as well. Oh my God. You see, when you do these things, they never happen again. I'd been up to a hairdressing exhibition, and I'd bought a new pair of scissors, which were texturizing scissors, which were huge at the time. And I was doing this really flowing between one and the other, and I had this gorgeous finished look, and it was all blown out, and I picked up a section and went to go like that and texturize it, and I picked up the wrong scissors, and I basically cut it like that short on a 1-length bob. That happened. So I had a cut experience, a colour experience, and that has always made me double look at the scissors.
All learning experiences.
Most poor people. Oh my gosh. They'd be like, if they ever see this, going, that was the girl that ruined my year.
But they've helped create the most wanted creative talent winner of 2018 that we have before us today. Well, Zoë Irwin, that was absolutely splendid. Thank you so much for joining me today. I feel like now we need to get a couple of crumpets, get the fire on, and toast up a storm. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much for having me.
much.